Welcome to the Critics Corner. I'm Andrew Branca with the Waxahachie Sun, and
I'm David Dunn with Southlake Style Magazine. How y'all doing today?
doing great, David. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. You as well.
Well, that's great. We're here to talk about a legendary actor here today, Mr. Chadwick Boseman. Uh, I really grew to love and admire the talent he had, and just admired the person who he was. He really sounded like I never met him personally or anything, but from what I've read about him, he just seemed like a really, really decent human being and just really a caring person. And I will say the world needs more of that type of people in it, and it's definitely a loss. When I heard it, I was shocked personally.
Yes, sir. When I found out that Chadwick Boseman passed away from cancer, none less, I can't even go into all of the emotions that I was caught up into. For those of you that are unaware, though it's very unlikely in the age of the internet, Chadwick Boseman is the highly popular actor who portrayed T'Challa, aka Black Panther, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's not only appeared in most of the recent Avengers movies, but he also debuted in Captain America's Civil War 4 years ago, and as well as his own movie Black Panther in 2018. But before he was known as Black Panther, obviously, Chadwick has starred in a surprising amount of historical films, aside from his debut as Black Panther. He was Thurgood Marshall in the biopic Marshall. He was James Brown in Get On Up. But the movie we'll be talking about today, the movie that really kind of propelled Chadwick Boseman into stardom, was the Jackie Robinson story, 42, which is obviously named off of his, the number that he wore on his baseball uniform. And I gotta say, man, it's whenever I first heard that Chadwick Boseman was cast as Black Panther, I was excited because I saw him in this movie. I knew the talent he possessed and just the energy, the charisma, the attitude, like just all of these special qualities that really propelled him to the forefront of this movie. I love seeing movies like this where it takes relatively unknown actors and gives them this large of a spotlight. And at the time he filmed this, he was unknown. You say the name Chadwick Boseman, you're like, Chadwick Boseman? Who the heck is that? But he really, truly did own this role. And that's especially saying something considering he was acting alongside Hollywood heavyweights like Harrison Ford in the same movie.
What's interesting to me is when I saw him in Black Panther, I didn't make that connection right away that was the same actor that was in Get On Up and in 42, and it took a minute for that to click. But when it did, I was like, wow, he's really, really, really good. And because, when you saw him in those roles as James Brown or Jackie Robinson or Thurgood Marshall, you didn't see Chadwick. You saw that person. You saw that personality of that individual really shine through his performance. And having that kind of ability to bring a real person like that to life, I definitely admired that. And I'm definitely saddened that he's gone, but they do say that sometimes the person with the most talent shines the brightest, and I think he was definitely a bright light in our world, and I'm just sad that I can't go to see another Chadwick Boseman movie or just learn more about him, or maybe even meet him.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. That was something that devastated me whenever I heard the news. But even going back to 42, and I completely agree with you. He very much immerses himself into every role he played so much to the point you did not recognize the actor, you recognized the character. And I think that's such a special quality about him. And that definitely shines in this movie. There are quite a few scenes where Chadwick really expressed his humanity as Jackie Robinson. And obviously, Jackie Robinson, the real life story, the baseball player that really desegregated baseball. He goes through some very heartbreaking, very hard, very tough, and very um, just unfair situations in this movie. Situations that no white baseball player ever in a million years would ever get caught up in. But Jackie Robinson, the person in real life, handles that with humility and grace and a lot of patience. And I feel like Chadwick channels a lot of the energy himself. Obviously, we don't know what real life experiences Chadwick Boseman experienced, but you feel like he's coming from a very raw, very real, very honest place with this movie. You feel like, just like with any other role he takes on, it's not just Jackie Robinson he's putting into the performance. It is very much also a lot of Chadwick. And
Well,
you totally see that. You totally see why he was cast in this and in subsequent movies, because that's just the unique energy he brings to his
well,
roles.
you know, Jackie Robinson was just such an amazing person. He did such a monumental thing to bridge that racial divide at that time, to bring African American athletes into a world stage, so to speak. And you can see that responsibility is taken not lightly with Chadwick's performance. He knows that the importance of what Robinson did, and definitely takes that to heart. And one thing I would also say about Jackie Robinson at that time that you didn't include is that he had a lot of dignity about him. He was a very dignified person that um, he didn't act out. He didn't seek revenge against people. He knew what he had to do, even though it was tough, and that's just reflected in that movie.
It really is, and I definitely agree with that. And one thing that I really like about this movie, and what I love so much about how writer director Brian Hedgeland handles the material here, he yes, like you said, he doesn't lash out, he doesn't respond to vitriol with vitriol, but the movie shows that it's very hard to do that. And I'll be honest, if I was in that same situation, I don't know if I would have had the strength to do what Jackie did in this movie and in real life. There was there was a great scene in this movie, and there's several amazing scenes. I'm not going to go in all of them here, but there's one very slight throwaway line. Not really throwaway, but it's kind of like a sidestep. Jackie Robinson is going to his first practice, and you have all these reporters rushing in on him. It's like, what are you trying to do to baseball? What are you trying to ruin our sport for? Like all this ridiculousness. And one reporter yells at him. He's like, hey, Jackie Robinson, is this about politics? And Jackie's like, nah, man, it's about getting paid. And just that short exchange there, that short, small, like 5-second thing, you're looking at it, you're like, it's wild to think what's considered political back then, and
Yeah,
looking at that, relating that to today's events as well. Like,
it's mind blowing. And what's kind of cool for me with this film is, in a little bit of a way, I kind of have a family connection to one of the characters in the film. There's a character, he's a pitcher by the name of Ralph Branca. And for all you baseball nuts out there, if you ever heard the phrase "the Giants won the pennant," he's the pitcher that was pitching against the Giants during I believe it was the 1951 championship, and he basically Bobby Valentine hit a home run off of him to win the game. So, and you see Ralph Branca in the film. He actually goes up and greets Robinson in the movie, and I believe there's a loosely family connection with my family and with him. So I believe he's somewhere on my family tree, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah, it's always awesome to be related to a major league baseball player.
I just
But
had to throw that
yeah,
out.
yeah, no, for sure. And Hamish Linklater, I liked him in the movie as well. I saw him, I was like, there's Andy's ancestor. I was flipping out. I was like, oh man. And it's cool because he, like you said, he's also one of the few baseball players that befriends Jackie Robinson in the movie. So I thought that was very sweet as well. I'm sure you were very proud to
Yeah.
that moment. And yeah, the 42. I will say if there is a weakness, I don't know if I'd say it's a weakness as much as it is a quality, but it does play it safe. And what I mean by safe is it does follow a formula for sure. There's that whole white savior cliche in movies, and that is in the movie, but at the same token, that's also what happened in real life. So that's just kind of something to juggle there. But I'm not as concerned about formula as much as I'm concerned about how the movie is handled. Like, how are the performances? How is the dialogue? How's the actions, and how the technical craft, how it all carries together. How emotional is it? And it is very, very emotional, and there are quite a few scenes that are very hard to watch. But also when you see Jackie Robinson win and make that big splash, not just across baseball, but also across racial and cultural divides, it really warms your heart in a way that few movies do. So this is a very special movie.
Definitely. No, I agree with that. I mean, I think they handle Jackie Robinson's legacy very tastefully and very befitting to a man who faced a lot of strife coming in and taking the first step for a lot of other people, in not just baseball but in life. I mean, that's a tough thing to do, and Chadwick just did a great job in showing that. He showed how Robinson handled it. He showed the struggles he had off the court, off the field. Just that the frustration he had that he couldn't speak up. He just had to take it, and because he knew what his path was in history and how it was going to impact so many people, and it does a great job in honoring Jackie Robinson.
I do want to pay mention to one last thing, because I can't believe we haven't talked much about him yet. But as I mentioned earlier, Harrison Ford does play Branch Rickey in the movie.
Yeah, the owner of the Dodgers. Yeah.
And I think Chadwick Boseman's just earnesty, his pure-hearted energy, paired with Harrison Ford's snark and wit, is just the best combination ever. Referencing what you just said, because it reminded me of it, where you're saying he just has to take the hits. There's a line where Jackie Robinson is saying he can't do a thing about the situation he is. And Harrison Ford, in that traditional growl, just goes, "Of course you can. You can win this game." And, he's that, he's kind of like Jackie Robinson's Mickey from Rocky. And that's basically what it is. He's just his cheerleader, more or less. And it's,
get up, Rock. You have one more round to go.
yeah, basically. Oh, and it's so great. It's so, yeah, no.
Yeah, Ford has always done a great job with that junkyard dog kind of voice that's really gruff, and yeah.
He really does. He was a wonderful addition in the movie.
Oh, I thought so. and I don't think anybody could have played it better than Harrison Ford in that role.
Nope,
He
definitely not.
needed somebody who was a mature actor that could, uh, bring that to life, and he did a great job.
It was a very strong cast, very strong performances, a very strong film.
So what do you give this film?
Solid 9. I haven't seen it in a while. Upon my third viewing, I was wondering if the formula aspect was going to bother me too much. Then I watched it, and you're so entranced in Robinson's story, you don't care about the cliches that come along the way.
Yeah, I give it a 9 as well. And one thing would want to mention, I mean, not related to 42, but related to Chadwick Boseman, is Denzel Washington. A lot of people don't know if they haven't read about it, and I was surprised when I learned about it that he actually funded his college education, which I thought that was a tremendous thing. I guess he did that for a lot of individuals. He did that for Chadwick, and that's wow. And I
He
think
did.
he said in an award speech where Denzel was present, I believe he said, there wouldn't have been a Black Panther without Denzel Washington.
There really wouldn't have been. And one last thing I want to say about this is whenever I found out the news of his passing, first of all, yeah, great example by Washington. But one thing that crushed my heart is whenever before this, I was under the belief that Chadwick Boseman would go on. Not that I don't want to diminish his legacy by comparing him to another actor, but I did feel like if there was going to be another Denzel Washington, I felt like Chadwick Boseman was very much on his way there, and just to have it cut short at 43 years, I can't even verbalize that heartbreak. It's still hard to process.
Well, I'll say this, and I know we don't get philosophical here on the corner, but I'll say this: I'd rather live a life like that
Mhm.
in 43 years than uh, live to be 95 and done nothing with my life.
Amen, sir. Amen. I think that is one thing. I think that is one thing that's very blessed about Chadwick Boseman's life is that at 43 years old, he's done all of this. He's portrayed Jackie Robinson. He's portrayed James Brown. He's portrayed Thurgood Marshall. He's portrayed Black Panther. Like I, I can't even like it's such a short time he's been on this earth, but I feel like he's changed the cultural landscape forever, and I'm going to always be infinitely grateful to him for that.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think that's a good note to end on.
Yes,
So,
sir.
just thank you, Chadwick, for everything that you've done for uh, to make humanity a little bit better of a place to be and be a member of, and just thanks.
Thank you, Chadwick. I know we're white, but Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.